Hello, so today we're just going to cover a few books I managed to read last month. So in May I sort of managed to finish all my academic work, at least I thought I had, and now we're just sort of into a point where it was just going to placement and I had a little bit more free time in my hands. Not a lot, but a little bit. So I managed to finish a book I was already starting to read literally back in April and hadn't managed to finish it yet, and also start 2 new audiobooks which I then finished in fairly quick succession, especially considering one of them was like 19 hours long. So the first book was On the Front Line When Women Fight Back, written by Stacey Dooley. So this book is really interesting. Each chapter's based on like a different trip or experience she's had with either one or a group of women while doing mainly filming documentaries. And it talks about different situations that they're in, and when it says like front line, it doesn't necessarily mean on a war, although some of them are, but just like front lines that so many different women across the world are in and the situations they might be in. So it looks at everything from like children to people in armies, and like it really like encompasses a lot of views that you might not have necessarily been aware of. I mean, for me, one of the biggest stories I had no clue about until I read the book was in Canada, and how Native women there are at so much higher risk of going missing, being sexually assaulted, being kidnapped, being killed than anyone else who lives there, and so that personally I found very, very interesting. Also, Stacey is a fellow Luton girl, so reading her book kind of felt like a little bit of a like support in her. So yeah, I found it a really, really good, really, really insightful book. It's definitely written like how she speaks, and if you don't like her documentaries you probably won't like this so much, but I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I was only really finishing that off at the beginning of June, but yeah, I found it really nice. So the next book I started to listen to in June was recommended by a good friend of mine, and it's called Becoming, and it's by Michelle Obama. And I know I'm very late onto this because it's been read by a lot of people already. I was listening to it and I had a couple of long journeys to make in over like 2 weeks, I reckon, and like obviously going back and forth to work is about 45 minutes, so it kept me good and busy, that book. I really enjoyed it. So it just is a great kind of progression of her life almost over the 19 hours, and she reads it all herself, and like starting off from where she started off in Chicago to like being first lady to what it's like after leaving that situation, and the stories, and like it's one of those books that like it's making you laugh and then like wanting to cry, and like it's really, really honest, like so honest that I really enjoyed it. I love the story of her trying to break out the White House, great one. But there's so many like good little snippets and stories, and like prom nights and all the fun. So I really, really enjoyed that book. I would highly recommend it to anyone, but I definitely think it's something that as women it's great to read. Like it's so empowering, and it's something I really enjoyed listening to for the first 2-3 weeks of June. And the final book I listened to, because we are super onto this audiobook Audible thing right now, and I had loads of credits saved up, is Adam Kay's This Is Going to Hurt. So this is a book written by reflections that Adam Kay had when he was a junior doctor. He mainly worked in like maternity wards, so I don't really have much experience of that. The closest I have is working on a gynae ward as a placement, but so he was doing obstetrics and gynae, so a little bit of that was involved, but not as much. But it's just sort of the way he tells the stories and the reality of healthcare, which is someone who's a student nurse I really related to, and so listening to it on the way home from work and like almost like hearing him discuss his work day and the good and usually the funny bad kind of made me able to relate to like sometimes my own. I think it's very good if you have no experience of what it's actually like to work in the NHS, or if you think you do but you don't quite know, like really give it a good listen, because or a good read, or like he's turned this into, I know the theatre show, I know there was like stuff on the radio as well, but I found it really good. And I think just hearing like the actual realities of what keeps the hospitals running very interesting. Now a lot of stuff has changed since then. I know lots of like protocol and policies are constantly changing in the NHS, but it's like a nice kind of reality as well. And I'm also one of those very lucky people who work in the city to do their degree. I love this book. It's a lot shorter. I think this one was only 6 hours to listen to, and personally I felt like it went way too quick, but I really enjoyed this book. Again, read by him, and I think that's something really nice about when you have sort of these autobiography style books, because when they're read by the person who wrote them, you can see how they meant the words to be said, and like the expression behind them, which I really enjoyed. Anyone who's thinking about working in the NHS or doing a degree or becoming a doctor would recommend this book. It might put you off, but then at least you know why you'd be being put off early. So that is it. I only managed to read 3 books in a whole month, but that is more books than I'd read in the rest of the year put together so far. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I know that I'm saying reading books when I really only listen to 2. I'm looking down because it's on my phone and I have no real books with me, but I will hopefully put pictures up on the screen if I remembered. I really hope you enjoyed this. It's just a quick little insight to books and whatever else I've been doing. Thank you very much for watching, and I will hopefully see you soon. Bye!